Okay. Okay. Hi. Good afternoon. My name is Adrian. At TeaMa, I'm the coordinator or command center for 200 printers nationwide.
Very nice. Okay. There's no way to record on whereby, right? I mean,
I'm
there's
recording.
no function.
I'm
Over
recording.
on. Okay, so this whole thing as well,
Yes,
the
I'm
whole
recording.
conversation.
Yes.
I see. Okay.
So this is 720p lah. This is
Okay.
in a WebM format. So you might need
Nice.
to convert to MP4 lah. It plays on a browser lah.
Yeah, that's more than enough. That's more
Yeah.
than enough. Yeah, and then just send me the WAV file that you're having on your Zoom as well, and then I'll just patch it together. That should be more
Yeah.
than enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. Thanks for offering that, by the way, because we've had like so many phoner interviews over the last 2 months because of like social distancing and stuff. So
Yeah.
all the interviews just sound like they're over the phone. It'll be nice to have something clear, lah. Something with like proper audio.
The Audio Technica microphones for USB, I checked with some of the suppliers. They're all sold out because
Yeah.
it's crazy. It's really crazy.
Yeah, I wanted to get one for myself as well, the USB one, because it's super simple. I don't have to patch anything in.
Yes.
But yeah, there's no stock. There's no stock for any of those.
Actually, I got a China. So it's after the ATK 2020. There's a model
Mm-hmm.
called K670. Very
Mm-hmm.
funny name lah. It goes by the name of Fifine or something like. It's a knockoff, but it's only
Yeah.
$200. So I got that one. Haven't actually given it a run for its money. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking to I don't know whether you know Vernon and another lady from NST. Want to do a tech blog kind of thing lah, like
Okay. Yeah.
a podcast, something like Leo Laporte kind of thing. Uh,
Like a webinar kind of thing.
More like a daily kind of tech show kind of thing. Yeah,
Ah, okay.
yeah.
Okay.
It's been a long time coming lah. It's just that we didn't have the opportunity, and so now is the right opportunity lah. Yeah,
Now's the best time, lah.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now's the best time.
Okay. So if you're fine, we can jump straight to the first question. We can just kick
Sure.
this off and see where it goes.
Sure.
Yeah. So I think a good way to start would be for you to tell us, like, a bit about TeaMa Face Shield. Like, you saw that there was a need for more masks, and you decided to help out. What is that process like? Because it sounds like you literally mobilized overnight, when you knew that there was a lack of face shields.
Yeah. So good day, everyone. My name's Adrian, and so just the background on TeaMa. TeaMa actually stands for Team Malaysia. We actually got the name from a US Discord 3D printing group.
Mm-hmm.
So it's based in US and all over the world. So we actually posted our design based on the 3D. I think it's pronounced Verston design. There's another design which is by PRUSA, which people call Pursa. And so on this Discord channel, we actually presented our design, which is version 2, revision 5, the latest one, which is sort of approved by Dr. Victor from UMC or PPUM. And so
Mm-hmm.
the name came out from someone in US because we didn't know what name to give ourselves. And so it's called TeaMa Face Shields. And so we started off a day after MCO or a day before. And so everybody was trying to, make sense out of it. And there were videos going around WhatsApp and stuff where the frontliners were actually using plastic bags. And so I think prior to that, a week or so, some of my friends on Facebook were already looking at printing, especially the 3D printing community. They were actually looking at how to actually help the frontliners already, even before our MCO. And so it was already some sharing going on. And then I was like, I wasn't into 3D printing at all. And so a friend of mine, Faiz, came up and said, do you want to help us and do you want to form a loose team? And so that's how it started. And today, after 30 over days, we have 200 printer owners nationwide.
Mm-hmm.
That has about 300 printers. So we're still running printouts till today.
Mm-hmm.
We've done more than 600 kilos of filaments. That's a
Mm-hmm.
lot for any printer, for that matter. And so,
Yeah.
yeah. And so today, I'm proud to announce that we are 100% charity. I think that's something that is unheard of. So we've actually modeled TeaMa Face Shield to be 100% charity, where there's a box for just for filaments, prototyping, and logistics. And then another box will be 100% volunteer. So it's very clean cut.
Okay, okay. I wanted to ask you about like approvals and stuff because I know getting like government approvals for these masks is
Yeah,
difficult. So you're making these for low risk wards instead or
right.
first, so that the more stringent masks can be used for like the COVID-19 treatment zones. Is that approval process like a roadblock for you? Because I'm asking if you see the approval process as something that keeps you from helping more doctors and more nurses.
So when we had the first evening where we printed about five, we were printing on the 3D printers, and we were printing on the we were cutting on the CNC cutters, which was under Marika at Publica. And so we had two samples, I think about five face shields frames, right? And so these were sent out to Dr. Adiba from UMC, and the next morning to Dr. Victor, also from UMC. At the same time, I think a guy by the name of Cheng Ho wanted to get Malaysian Devices Authority to get approvals. And so it was sort of a we have enough face shields in the frontliners and on the ground, and at the same time we had a Google Docs where people were requesting for them. So we were more on the ground. And so what happened was when we had the demand, we understood that the users were actually the frontliners, and so getting the first prototype out, I think it was version 1 to Dr. Adiba. I can still remember this very clearly. We had a runner by the name of Zach. We actually went to Dr. Adiba's house at 11:30 at night because he picked up the first face shield from Novais in Cyberjaya and sent it all the way to Dr. Adiba's house for her to test. I can remember, not in verbatim, but she said that very light. Please get it tested by the Muslim ladies with tudung, right? And so the next morning itself, we actually got the same face shields out to Dr. Victor. And so this is what it looks like. The reason why it's low risk is because there's a hole here, right? If you look at the Pursa ones, this one is actually a one piece. There's a layer here, and so what it does is it protects whatever particles that go in, right? And so this is about 10 grams per face shield. And so some of the revisions went into the notches here, where we wanted to make it scalable in the sense that we could just send the frames and then the A4 sheets and how to punch the holes could be done by the doctors and the nurses themselves. And so from the design as well, we got this, which is springs in a way, the design and the thickness and the structural integrity of it to have this tightness here so that you don't need a rubber band, because an additional rubber band would be additional moving parts. And if you look at this one here, it's actually a spring. So when you wear on your front of your forehead, you can actually have a sort of a spring-like, mechanism where it doesn't, fully press on your head. And so this is, I think, version 6 right now, which is quite remarkable compared to the two US and Europe ones, which is the Pursa and the VET scan. Which is more than 10 grams and takes a little bit longer to print. This one started off at about 40 minutes to print, reusable. So what you can do is you can just wipe it down or dunk it in a disinfectant and then just dry it like a hanger. And so this one takes about, because we're running all volunteers and amateurs, so it's about 30 to 40 minutes. We've got volunteers like Johnson in Kaki DIY who's managed to print 109 of these from a 1 kilo. Don't ask me how, but these guys are really optimized. And also another guy by the name of Daryl, he's managed to print 2 of these in 32 minutes.
Okay, which pretty much cuts down the time of developing per mask.
Yeah. Per shield, sorry. Yeah.
Okay. Talk to us about that impact a little bit more. Like how many masks have you been able to manufacture so far and send out during this MCO period?
So we started collecting money because we saw that the frontliners needed somewhere between 1 to 1.2 million face shields. We know this for a fact because that was the order given, and we got from somewhere between 100 to up to 5,000 requests for face shields per person. So, like for instance, give you an example, Hospital Ta in Klang was the first few people that actually wanted 5,000 face shields, and we were like, wow, that's a lot, But looking at how many people work in the emergency and the COVID and 3 shifts and the ambulance services, then we understood, right? So, having said that, these printers that we have are mostly hobbyists. And then just to stress on a point that 3D printers are not meant for production. All right, they are meant for prototyping. And so what everybody is doing is they are producing this like a production factory. And so because every different printer and every different settings of a printer, and so these ones are 20% infill. Just a little bit background. So it's porous 80%, right? And so some people print it at 10%, some people print it at 15%. So an average number for a kilo is between 60 to 109, right? So the variance in that sense, out of 600 kilos that we've got donation money and bought filaments for everybody in Malaysia, we're looking at about 42,000 face shields to 50,000 face shields that were given out. And that's a fraction of what was ordered by Kementerian themselves. So, then again, we are not the only group that is doing it. There are a lot of volunteers, a lot of Malaysians, which I always tell people we are very proud to be Malaysian because of 3 things. The Malaysian food, the football, and when it comes to, a war that we are fighting together, we are always there for the frontliners. So, having said that, I think I'm so proud to be Malaysian because we've had people from Europe say that, if this was a European printer, he wouldn't even be bothered. We get the US people having protesters like, face shields or face masks are for communists and stuff like that. And the protesting are happening now, It's like, it's just ridiculous that nobody is even helping the frontliners with PPEs overseas, and they're looking at Malaysia. We've got donations coming in from Singapore today. A Singapore company by the name of Ingbo has actually donated 78 kilos of filaments. So we're working that out, getting it to Malaysia. The Berlin group in Germany has also donated to us very kindly because of what we are doing. So far and wide, Malaysians are just so nice. And we always band together when it's either football, badminton, or food, right?
Yeah, for sure. I actually wanted you to expand on that momentum a bit more because, as you mentioned, you were able to collect a decent amount of donations within that first week to keep your operations going. But how has that momentum been so far? Like over the weeks after the MCO has extended and stuff. Like, is it increasing, decreasing? Like, are you able to gather enough funding to keep making enough masks?
It's actually a good question. We actually collected almost 70,000 ringgit, and filaments have become a commodity. They started off at 55 ringgit per kilo. It's gone up to about 88 now per kilo, which is a lot. Nobody in the sane mind would buy at 90 ringgit per kilo. It's gone up tremendously. Again, we were not there to flatten the curve. We were there to break the chain. And so doing face shields were breaking the chain. And so the fact of the matter is that donations have sort of flattened along with the recovery rate and the people that are positive. But having said that, moving forward, I would like to also announce just yesterday we had a very positive response from My Harapan. And so they are on board. They are on board for the donation drive and as well as to help out with the youth donation because we were actually agile and wanted to collect money day one because we understood that there's just so much people that can contribute per kilogram. How many kilograms can you afford, right? And to be honest with you, we actually emptied out all the warehouses for the top printer and filament sellers in Malaysia, namely Citron, Fabsicle, 3D Gadgets. They are zero. They've sold out. The next stock, which is coming in, is probably next month from China and stuff like that. So, and prices of printers, just to share with you, have gone up like 20%.
Oh,
There's an aftermarket for second-hand printers. IR 4.0 has never been better. We've got NGOs that come up to us and say, "So where do we buy a printer?" I go like, "Okay, you're an NGO." It's like, "Yeah, we want to learn how to 3D print as well, right?" It's like, so it's like really, really cool. The makers community, especially the industrial guys, are really, really swell. I mean, I'm not coming from the 3D printer industry. Um,
mm-hmm.
I barely held a face shield until the second week because I was on MCO. I never saw a face shield other than the fact that it was on WhatsApp or Facebook, right? And so
Yeah.
having held a face shield and so we got multiple colors. We had I think a pink that was featured on TV3 yesterday. Sorry, just naming where it was there. And so we realized that after MCO and after this, they probably keep this for a souvenir because this is something that save lives, right? And so
Yeah.
yeah, and so I think today I think we still had about five different requests from immigrations to bomber to police to even the army that they were requesting. So it's just amazing how everybody just I mean, so we decided day one that we didn't want to sell it because this one, if I'm not mistaken, the cost of it in 10 grams, if you divide by 55 ringgit or 88 ringgit, comes down to about 120 to 150 ringgit, just this piece. And so
Mm.
um, it was a collective decision among us that we didn't want to sell it because we didn't want to make it a commodity.
Yeah.
We could have started selling this, and made the money and then, channel it back to ingredients. But I think the team decided, again, I've never met my team. Everybody is a volunteer. Everybody just stepped up. And so everybody said that this shouldn't be a commodity. And so we
Mm-hmm.
stuck by it till today. And so the printers are still doing it today. I just mentioned names. We have Adlina in Kuantan. We have Edham in Sabah. We've got Jeffrey in Sarawak. Down south, we've got Boon Keng. Up north, we've got KH Teo. In Kelantan, we have Young. So these are the team leaders that are connected to both the doctors and the runners. So every time there's a bottleneck and there's a problem to be solved, and that's when I come and the team basically just untangles all the knots and just gets things done. And so I would like to also thank Dr. Murali from the National Cancer Society because they have offered us a letter to actually move around during the MCO. I'd like to also thank Dr. Nirmala from UMMC and Dr. Victor. Dr. Victor was the second guy in Malaysia. He was the PPA expert. He actually looks at all the PPAs that come into Malaysia. And he was the guy that actually issued a letter and stuck his neck out for us to say that this is something low risk, this is something that is needed, and this is something that can be used. And so without that, I think answering your first question, I think without that, a lot of people would have been like, do we need to sanitize? Do we need to, that kind of, what if, kind. But having said that, moving forward, I think we've done more than this. We have a bubble box, which is an incubation box. I think you've seen all those square boxes with the hands that go in.
Yeah.
We have prototype up to 5 boxes. We've never pushed out in the thousands, but I know people who have pushed out in the thousands, and a lot of volunteer groups actually made those boxes. And so we have the incubation box, which Dr. Amma, which is now a very close colleague, working on the front, who is a clinical physician with Sungai Buloh Emergency Center. And so what we've done with the bubble box, which where you put your hands in, there is a negative pressure pump, which is similar to an exhaust fan. So basically, that one sucks out the air, the bacteria, and then we also have a drain pipe where all your fluids actually go out, and there's an oxygen that goes in. So the intubation box or the bubble box now has more features, and we've not even produced them. We've got 4 connectors that go around the boxes to attach to the equipments in the hospital, but we've not actually produced them because there wasn't a need. But they have done a lot of testing and field testing. So having said that, this is just one of the products moving forward to break the chain. We've also had Decathlon. I don't know whether you know, we've had the Decathlon mask. If you look on the background of the chat that we have, the gold, silver, red, and green, those are 3D printed parts. And then the green, putu piring, I call it. Such a foodie, right? So the putu piring green stuff is actually they call it a HME filter or a virus filter. It goes down to
Mm-hmm.
zero point 0.2 microns. Even though the COVID-19 bacteria goes down below 0.2, this is the best filter we have today in the medical fraternity. And then the one below, which looks like a bubble kind of thing, that one is forgot the name of it. It's actually for eczema patients, nebulizer, right? And so with
Mm-hmm.
the Decathlon mask and with these tubings, you can breathe oxygen and exhale through the filters, and then the air that goes out is free from bacteria. And then if you are a asthma patient, you can get your nebulizer shots done within the mask itself, right? And so the Decathlon mask was also an issue. It was also a challenge because we were the first to reach out to Decathlon and we wanted to buy it from their online store because Decathlon was closed. And so they go like, no, this is not a medical device. You cannot just buy. But in Italy they've been doing it, right?
Yeah.
And so the silver color thing that you see in the background is actually called a charlotte, which is a name they've given to the connector, which we've improved and made more funnels and tubings to suit other use cases for it. And so the Catalan mask today, we're also working alongside some wind tunnel engineers from the aerospace industry, 3 of them. We're doing a negative pressure pump. What a negative pressure pump means is like if you goreng char kway teow, that the exhaust fan that you have in the house,
Yeah.
the hood and hob,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so the hood is the one that sucks out the air. That's why the room doesn't smell stuffy. Like when you go to mama shop, your shirt smells smelly because of the air, right? And so the negative pressure pump is meant to suck out the smells and the air, right? And then the filter is meant to filter the bacteria. So with that concept, we also can do 2 things. One is for the doctor. So the doctor and patient will have a mask each. So that's really breaking the chain. And then having said that, we want to make it portable. And it's called a PEPR. It's PAPR, which is powered purifier, something like that, along that lines. And that device, if you wear it, if you Google PAPR, as in Penang, America, Penang, Russia, the brands that carry them, which are short in Malaysia, is 8,000 ringgit per device. Okay.
Wow.
The Decathlon mask, if I'm not mistaken, goes for 150 ringgit. The tubings is about 40 grams, so you can divide how much and the time taken.
Mm-hmm.
Then the rest of the tubings are just stuff that you can buy from a computer shop in terms of the fan, and then the filter is ready available. And so now you've got a product which is less than 300 ringgit that does almost the same thing. But again, we're still in R&D. There's a lot of things that needs to be done. Whenever we get something out, we will push it to Dr. Victor and Dr. Amar for them to field test it because they do field testing, like, for example, emergency. So they rush doing things, they pull out the stuff. And so the Decathlon mask and the connectors are now printed on another material called PETG.
Mm-hmm.
These ones are printed on PLA. It's just some form of plastic lah.
Yeah.
So we have the Legos, the Legos. Those are made by ABS, hard plastic. These are
Mm-hmm.
PLAs, very soft, right? The PETGs are like rubber, like a handphone casing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those kind of stuff. Yeah. Oops, sorry about that.
No problem.
And so office is calling. And so just like to mention a big thank you to System Consultancy Services for allowing me to actually do this full time because of the intention and the what you call nawaitu of the boss, which allowed me to do this. If I finish my work, I can actually do this in command center. So it was like 20-hour work days, worse than the office.
Mm-hmm.
I think with this MCU, a lot of people are working harder than actually in the office because you realize
Yes.
that the time difference between getting from your sarong to your sarong again is the same because
It's a lot longer. Yeah.
a lot of days are so much longer. And so
It's so much longer.
yeah, and so today we have Mercy Malaysia as well carry about 15 kilos, 18 kilos of filaments to Sabah. We had 500 face shields. Oh god, the office again. We've got 500. We've got 500 face shields going over to Sabah as well. Because when we send stuff from day one to Sabah, it took I think 2 weeks, stuck in
Mm-hmm.
Penang, and then it never went to Sabah. And then 2 weeks later, only it showed up in Sabah. So now we decided to play a bit smart and hop on TUDN's and Mercy flight. And so we were lucky. I think today the Sabah team has run out of filaments as well. And buying filaments were so, I mean, it's so difficult because everything's all backlogged from China. And so we've become a very not as dependent as a service country like US, but we've become so reliant on China that we realized that everything comes from there. It's like, I just wanted to buy a spray for my air fryer yesterday, and everything is from overseas.
Yeah.
On Shopee and Lazada. It's like, what? It's like, don't we produce anything here? So that some of the things were like that. And so looking at the industry, I think it's fantastic that we have so many 3D printers. We have a map of 3D printers that are across Asia. I'm not sure whether I can show it or not, but I'll just pull it up and share the screen.
On your website, right?
Yes. So we have a map, of all the printers that are live today, which is amazing because who would to imagine we have 3D printers all over Malaysia that are fighting. Sorry, yeah. So all the blue dots. This is the overview of how we manage supply and demand. So these are our printers, and these are our hospitals. So that's how we actually, see where the demand is, which is really, really cool. So this was developed by Saiful and also a volunteer, Ahmad Saiful and Habib. And so they plotted everything by coordinates. And so when, if let's say, so for example, when I see a demand from a Google Doc sheet that people fill in here, so like for instance, volunteer request queue, right? So if I see a request queue of how many people that needs face shields from a particular area, so this is our request queue. Yeah, of all times, the net is just bad. Yeah. And so if you go here, yeah, so this is we've got 600 or less, because some people, I think they click on request twice. So sometimes we get 2 requests from the same name. But this is the Google Docs that we actually keep track. So as you can see, as of today, we've actually fulfilled almost close to 600 unique. Yeah, here we go. Yeah. So all the way from basically all walks of life, from doctors to police to the CID to the fire brigades to the ENTs. And so we are no favor, no color, no race kind of thing. And so this is something that Saiful developed. And so what happens is whenever I see a demand here, so we have supply and demand taken care of, where people would to request for face shields that are finished, and then people would to request for filaments when they finish printing and they don't have enough stock. They will request here. And so again, a lot of things are anonymous in the sense that I don't even have their full address. And so like if you take example, Sofian, his delivery area is Bandar Sri Sarjana. And so if I go into my system here and key in, so this is the command center part lah. So I key in Sophia and all I see is a coordinate here, right? And so what happens is the coordinate allows me to send a guy to send stuff over to him in terms of the filaments.
Anyone with a 3D printer can help produce these masks. But is there an approval process on your side, like from the command center? Like, do printers have to meet certain guidelines before they can start contributing?
So how do I put it? It's like riding a bike or driving a car. you can hop in and hop off a car as long as it's automatic, or as long as it's a stick, right? And so if you know how to drive a stick car, you know how to drive an automatic. And the steering wheel and the pedals are almost the same for every other 3D printer. Of course, um, that's being very generic lah. Of course, everybody has upgraded their printers. It's like buying a Proton Saga and souping up your engine with a Mitsubishi engine, right? And then you change the air filter, you change the exhaust, and so it's still a car. It still gets you from point A to point B, right? But then again, I'm not a 3D printer. I've not printed for more than 30 days. And so I'm the worst person to ask that question. But I can tell you for a fact that they're so advanced users that some of them, like Sofian, has actually built a system where so that it's a flat bed, right? And so the 3D printer is a head that does this, right? So when it's done, right, his head and his nozzle will come to the front, go down, and then just push it off the bed, right, and into a box. And so he's programmed his 3D printer to do that, and so it runs for the entirety of how many hours, and it does that all the time, automated, right? And so how do you put a finger on that, right? So having said that, again, a lot of designs have come up from this VetScan, this design, and so you've got different people put their names on it. You've got some of the colleges like UC Tati and JMI have their own design, So again, this is open source. How do you control the open source? There's no license to it. As long as you give credit to that person, and you're good to go, right? So how do we control is that we have a particular version, but then again, we don't control, we don't centralize where the face shields, frames go to. And so we worked on a distributed model where each printer would to send to the nearest hospital, right? And so the only person that is the guy that is going to evaluate this is the end user, which is the nurse or the frontliner, right? So at the end of the day, how do you control that? I have no answer for you. For you.
Which is fine.
But again, nobody is complaining. Nobody on the ground is complaining. Yeah.
And so that's your benchmark. I guess if no one complains and everything is okay, then it tells you that,
I think the benchmark is seeing the numbers drop. I'm not saying that the face shields is the only reason for that. There's a lot of people sending food. There was a very cute letter from McAfee out to DG. So these are the little things that help, right? So how do we put a finger on that? The screen here is actually the Discord group that we were on, or for that matter, I was the only one that was looking out at the. So there's even this really cool bunny science thing, which was done by a anesthetologist by the name of. So he's done this suit. This guy. Guy who in the US has done a bunny. There you go. He's done a really not toilet paper, but a plastic bag with a filter. And this one is pepper, P-A-P-U-R, pepper, A-P-R. And so this replaces the N95 mask. There's a frame which is red. And then there's a PC fan, the CPU fan, last time on the PC one. And then it goes out to the same HME filter, which is, they call it a viral filter. And so this guy calls this bunny science. Go figure why it's called bunny science, because it looks like a bunny, maybe, I'm not sure. But amazing stuff you see people on the ground do. He's actually a doctor that does anesthetic. And so he's done videos and he's improved this design, and so they're talking about it. They're going like, is this NIH approved? How do we get this approved? And so everybody and every other country is shortage in terms of PPEs, and so beggars can't be choosers, right? So they're just innovating. I mean, it's just fantastic to see the medical, like, so give you an example. Dr. Amar, we took some of the donation money and bought him a printer, and Dr. Zulhilmi as well for Kota Baru. And so what this does is it reduces the last mile, because being in e-commerce, the last mile is always crucial, right? You can have printers all over Malaysia, but getting it through MCO and the police roadblocks to the hospitals is zero, right? So what do? You bring the printers to the hospital, lah, right? And so they are printing face shields, and then when they do prototyping, they're printing whatever they want. And so when they prototype, they go like, oh yeah, so this is the bunny signs hello. It's like a Xbox game. It looks it looks like a standard 6 project, but I can tell you, this is what I'll be wearing when I go for my holiday in London next year.
Yeah, I mean, we probably have to at this point,
Yeah, and so how do you protect yourself, right? Unless you
Yeah,
have the money, right? So that's the red color stuff. That's the fan above the blue. It's like a PC fan, It's like I think a 40 mm, 20 mm fan, and it runs off a power bank. And this guy was wearing it for 11 hours in surgery.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right? And these are all 3D printed. Yeah.
Impressive, man. I mean, like super, super impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a saying that goes, necessity is a mother of invention, right? So
Mention, yeah.
and so you get these guys doing crazy stuff, because they don't have PPEs, right? They have no choice.
Yeah.
So,
desperation, right?
Yeah. It's also desperation, And then in the US, a lot of people are not wanting to go and work, even your healthcare workers, because they're not protected. Yeah. And so one of the reasons and the intention why we started this is because we had some friends who had wives who go out on the field and come home to their kids and families, right? I've got doctor friends whose husband is a surgeon in UAMC, and how they disinfect, no kids go in his car. Come home, stripped down. There's a box for his clothes. There's a box for his wallet and keys. Everything gets sanitized. He comes home. He doesn't hug anybody. He goes straight to the toilet. It's like you. The last thing you want is a stressed out healthcare worker with depression and nobody to turn to. So I mean, so what do we do as keyboard warriors, right? we enable all our printers. We work and. We start printing stuff and sending them out to the field, right? That's the best we can do, Yeah.
You mentioned something else just now that's quite interesting. You said that you were given the leeway, or you're given the allowance to do this 24/7 or however long you want, which is like very sort of like liberating for you, and it's very freeing for you. But the thing is, like, people have a lot more time now
Yes.
with the MCO, because of the MCO. But when it lifts, like, everyone will go back to work. They might not be able to produce as many masks per day. But the biggest problem is COVID-19 may not completely disappear until we find a vaccine. So that's going to still linger around. It will still be in the air. Infections might go up, might come down. So is that going to be like an issue for you, for the collective? Like how are you going to tackle the timing issue once the MCO lifts and people need to go back to work?
I think we'll have a withdrawal effect, lah. like people smoking and stuff. And so, okay. Having said that, again, I'd like to stress that the 3D printers are meant for prototyping. They are not meant for production.
Yep.
And so the production guys, just to give you an example, like Dr. Farid from GMI, good friend of ours, he has been churning out 3,000 face shields a day with injection molding, right? And so that is, and then he just got a donation from I think Petronas Chemical for ingredients. Look at the kilograms of ingredients that go into the injection molding. So we've got people that are far greater in terms of production capacity. Right, and so again, I'd like to stress is that the 3D printers are merely for prototyping. They are not meant for things like this. So you look at this video, right? It's like spitting out face shields every 2 seconds, right?
Yeah.
And so when these machines came online, of course the mold takes about a week to do. We've got UC Tati in Terengganu do this. So Terengganu is basically safe. In the sense that they're only working 8-hour shifts and producing like almost 2,000. If you do a 3-shift thing, see, it's like literally spitting out face shields, right? But then again, you've got logistical challenges in that sense, right? At 3,000 units a day, to reach 1.2 million healthcare, because we've got about 60 hospitals with about 100 healthcare workers on the front end, which is, and this 100 is just the minimum, because you've got 30 people from each department: ambulance services, COVID, and emergency, right? So you've got 90 people at any given time at 3 shifts. So you need 300. So that's why we were looking at numbers. Why is it 100 and 300? Because they were reusing it. So having said that, we are only protecting the 60 hospitals. We've got 408 hospitals and clinic kesihatan all across Malaysia, right? Each of them will at least have about 500 to 1,000 people. If you do the math, right, we don't have enough. We don't have enough face shields. And not everybody knows that that these face shields are reusable. So this week's agenda is to engage people like Daphne Iking, Vince, and Jenny to actually do a PSA to actually tell people that these face shields are reusable. You can actually, because a lot of people they don't know how to differentiate these ones from the sponge ones, and the ones that are being made with the tape and stuff like that. So to answer your question, I think when these machines come online more, and they have at least 14 of these machines or 10 of these machines. These are mostly in the TVET and the universities and the colleges. They have these machines, but again, material, if you don't have a donation, it's going to be expensive, right? So how do you get ingredients? So once these machines come online, the 3D printers will be still there. That's why we're still raising funds with My Harapan to further break the chain, because you never know, another group might spike out from the Sri Kembangan cluster somewhere. And when that happens, then you suddenly realize, oh, we've been complacent and we've not been printing any more 3D face shields, right? But so having said that, 3D face shields are the first line of defense. The Decathlon mask, which Decathlon has committed their Vietnam factory to us, they, imagine if 2,000, 3,000 of the COVID positive patients are all wearing the Decathlon masks. Nobody gets any bacteria in their face and in their mouths and ears and nose, and that's breaking the chain even more. And imagine if we can get another 60 times 300 or 400 hospitals times 300 masks into the hands of ambulance services. Actually, the ambulance services are the ones that are most critical, because they go out and they pick up the positive patients, right? And so what happens when the frontliners go down? You and I are not doctors. You and I cannot go and heal someone with COVID and cannot heal some frontliner with COVID. So what do we do, right? What do we do? And so it's a very gray line, just to reiterate the fact that you asked in terms of approvals, right? We, as in me and my wife, Zaini, we stuck our neck out with the Sdn Bhd when we were raising funds. Although we were sounded by our auditors, we stuck our neck out and we told Decathlon, if anybody dies from the Decathlon mask that we're taking from you, please drag us to court, right? And then we had Dr. Murali from the National Cancer Society say that, if that's the case, we can do a back-to-back agreement with the patient, or if the patient cannot decide, we can do it with the family, because when they deal with cancer patients, they sign a non, I think it's some legal thing, right? So it's a back-to-back agreement that if anything we do to help your family member, and he or she dies in our hands, we've done our best and you cannot sue us, So we stuck our neck out using our Sdn Bhd as an entity with Decathlon, saying that, if you give us the mask and we know that it's a sports goods, we thank you for it. But if anything happens to the patient, we will bear responsibility. So it's a very gray line, very, very gray line. And nobody's going to take the risk. So we got to stick out for another human being,
Yeah, I mean, these are like, weird times, to say the least. I mean, people, it's extreme times, extreme measures, right?
There's no SOP. Nobody handed out a manual that say that during a pandemic, this is what you're supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
And so we do based on humanity, for a fellow Malaysian, because at the end of the day, it's sad to see the healthcare workers getting. And so I like to just iterate that healthcare workers don't get sick or COVID positive because they're at work. They get sick because they go for a wedding or a mass reunion. The healthcare workers, they know how to take care of the PPEs and themselves. They know how to take it off. if you watch the videos of the pepper and how to put it on and take it off, they are the safest guys on the street. You give me a PPE, I don't know how to put it on. I'll probably just take off the mask and contaminate the rest and then touch my face and then I'll die. But these healthcare workers, from Dr. Amma, they don't get sick on the field. They get sick because they go for a wedding or they go for a meeting and there's a A positive or a COVID positive patient.
Yeah. Adrian, a couple of more questions. I wanted to ask you, what are some of your biggest challenges, apart from all the stuff that you described previously? What are some of your biggest challenges with TeaMa and with moving forward?
Um, 4 or 5 divorces with regards to people starting day one. Working with people is working with people that you've never worked before on coordinating this. So when I started this with Nofais, I mentioned, I said, we need to raise funds. I told him, I said, so whose bank account do we raise funds with, right? Your, mine, who? And so I started raising funds on the Senyum Berhad, which my wife is 100%. And so when the money was in and the demand was about 7,000, that was, I think, the day 2. Everybody started panicking. The core team of 5 of us started. I was like, 7,000. What can you do with 7,000? You can't even buy 100 kilos. And so they wanted to stop funding. I've been a professional beggar with the Turtle Conservation Society of Malaysia, an NGO, and I call myself a professional beggar because it's so hard to get corporate funding these days. I think as an entity that does advertising like BFM also, we're all facing that challenge today, to get advertisers and funding. And so I was so against them stopping the funding because we were the only hope. The first phone call that I had was a Dr. Fiona, and she said, "Adrian, can you raise an invoice?" I said, "Raise an invoice for what?" And that was like having my phone on the toilet wall, because everybody had my number somehow or another, and it was just being passed around. So it was very heart-wrenching to know that we were doing, and we were the only people's hope. Second guy that came up to me was an elderly couple. I can't remember whether he or she. He says, 3 of my kids, my son-in-law, my daughter-in-law, and my daughter, are all doctors. You realize that because most of doctors in the family become doctors, or they marry another doctor, and so and he goes like, "Here's 500 ringgit. Make full use of it. Please protect the frontliners because my daughter and my in-laws, 3 of them, are fighting this. Please help me fight this together." And to me, it was like, geez, it's 500 ringgit. It's a lot of money. And we're living in very uncertain times where, people are half salary, losing their jobs. Frontliners like the little lady selling nasi lemak and goreng pisang, they don't know what their future holds, right? And so, having said that, it was so heartbreaking that to know that the core team wanted to stop funding. So that was the biggest issue. And then having run a few startups, I realized that we needed to validate the product with the likes of Dr. Victor, likes of Dr. Adiba, and Dr. Nimala was really a light, was really a beacon of light. With all the negativity going around, like, oh, is this sanitized? Can we do this in our homes? Can we send this out? All the hate lah. And Dr. Nimala, not in verbatim, said that, Adrian, we have a team. If you like to bounce off any ideas, very polite. She was the most outreach person, and she does policies with UMNC, PPUM. And so she was like, if at all you need your devices or whatever you're doing, someone to help advise, please reach out to me. And so having a doctor and coming to, I don't even know where my heart is and my lung is. Okay, so having a doctor come up to us and say that we're doing a right thing, and that she's given us the opportunity and the avenue to actually bounce off ideas like this was just fantastic, right? And so how do we go forth from there, right? And so we engaged, and so at 11, 12 o'clock, we got the face shield frames printed and pushed out to the first Dr. Adiba, and the next day Dr. Victor to have a review lah, And so they said, rubber band cannot be here. This one was an issue because this one was pointing forward or pointing just here. So when you put the paper here, it will come off. I'm sorry, the A4 will come off. So he says, why don't you put it L shaped like this, so that when you put the paper in, it will hook, right? So these are feedback. Sorry, just checking whether I have enough SD card. So these are the things that we needed on the ground, which is what you call the first user or the buyer to have a buy-in and to have validation, Yeah.
Okay. So I think a good way to cap this interview would be to talk about what's next, because I've been asking this to like everyone who I've interviewed over the last month. How do you plan to move forward? With what you're doing. Once we're on the road to recovery, and I ask this because it's a new normal for all of us. Like nothing is concrete, and the future is like more vague now than it ever was before, right? So I'm interested to know, what's the long term plan? Like was TeaMa even meant to be a long term thing?
Honestly, when I set out to help Nur Faiz, I wanted to help him for a week. It's now week one, second month already.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, he's left the group. He's running his own. So having said that, I think moving forward, health tech is something that is much needed. How do we break the chain and protect um, 30 over million Malaysians? And that moving forward, how do we enable and equip Malaysians to be able to live their lives normally again? Having said that, my wife and her best friend is doing a something called Bazaar Baru for Ramadan. It's not a one to many delivery for vendors. It's a many vendors to one buyer delivered by one rider, right? And so because we've seen firsthand what can be done, what cannot be done. We've done logistics, we've done the last mile. So looking at that for TeaMa, I think prototyping for more products. When I say products, I mean things like face shield, incubation box, the mask from Decathlon. Having more products and maybe legalizing it under My Harapan and partners with my Mercy and TUDM for logistics across to Sabah Sarawak. I think moving forward, I think that needs to be ironed out and in place. How do we get the not just the frontliners and all Malaysians to have a face shield, right? How do we get that? We've written letters to mostly. We've done calculations and projections for 60 hospitals with 100 healthcare workers each, which is just 6,000 actually. And then having them have to recycle and reuse the face shields. We were looking at 12 to 13 tons of filament. We barely hit 600 today, and we barely did 40, 50,000 of these. These are 10 grams. The ones that you see in the background, those are 40, 50 grams. That's 5 times the volume of what we're doing now. And we're not even protecting everybody. We're just scraping the top of the barrel. It's like, how do we protect everybody? I mean, if you can't get people to do physical distancing, we've got to protect ourselves. How do you protect yourself when you go out? You're not going to walk like this and like hello. You're not going to tell that the other guy to go further from you, because You're not even sure your face mask is 0.2 microns, or is it an N95, or is it an N98, How do you print a face mask for you and your family and your loved ones, right? There are people who are opportunists today that are printing it uh, for money. I've seen, they've messaged me, they've posted on the group, which I've deleted, selling a family 2+2, two adults, two kids, So, it's just amazing how the market finds its level, right? And so, how do we do that for the 30 over million population? How do we
Mm.
get each face shield and a N95 mask to a elderly, to a adult, and to a kid? How? And that's the question that I've been asking myself every single day when I wake up. So it's basically legalizing it, going under an umbrella like My Harapan, which is nationwide. Working with the likes of Mercy Malaysia, who is doing things on the ground. Collaborating with organizations. We don't have we after the 78 kilos that come in from Johor, we don't have filaments in Malaysia anymore. So I mean, we've written a 5-pager. We've applied for the Mostly grant, but we got rejected. How do we get 12 to 13 tons of filament into Malaysia? And if we don't get these 12 tons, how do we protect our frontliners? Yeah, yeah. So a little bit sad of an ending, lah, but that's the reality of it, because we only have, I think, 2 weeks of PPEs available before we run out. And so if we are going to zero, then good, all well and hunky dory, but we're not. We're not yet until it's zero. And even if we go to zero, the the so Ramadan is out of the question. All the bazaars and how we used to buy food, out of the question. Raya is going to be a Chinese New Year that Wuhan celebrated. 6 months from now, a year from now, I'm not going to go to a holiday. It's crazy. I'm not even thinking of going on my house, man. So how much of that are we going to be the new Malaysia? Of course, I'm very hopeful that I can wear a bunny shield hello and start walking around lah. I'll print one for you and your family as well lah. Yeah, but using donors' funds and the Rakyat's money, I think um, we need to do something lah. We need to do something, and this is moving forward lah, breaking the chain, making sure the chain is broken and never connected again. I mean, we've had fantastic SOPs. I'm so amazed that the foreigners coming to Malaysia and thinking that we still live on coconut trees realize that our SOPs for healthcare is so stringent. I've got buddies in the CID that are working with the telcos to finding the Sri Petaling cluster and how they find it using cellular. It's just amazing how Malaysians are so innovative. It's just amazing. Yeah. Yeah. So I think,
I mean,
yeah,
go on.
yeah, I think I call it a sprint for a very long marathon. And so I hope I don't get burnt out, and I hope the funds don't stop coming in so that we can break the chain for the frontliners. So like Project Pelangi in terms of PPEs, all the sewing machines that have doubled in price, all the seamstresses that never had a job now, are living, the life of their dreams because they're helping the frontliners. It's just amazing seeing people come together. Every day is like a brand new day. It's like Malaysia Baru, but it's for the rakyat. It's like for us by us.
I mean, I hope you don't get burnout as well. I mean, I hope you find solutions to what you're doing. It sounds tough. It sounds tough. It sounds like it's a long haul thing. But I don't know. We've a lot of people around the world seem to have overcome a lot over the last 2 months. People are doing things that we wouldn't have even thought about or imagined like 2 months ago. So I don't know. I'm hoping for the best. I'm wishing you like all the luck
Thank you very
for
much.
you to find solutions to what you're doing, and I think what you're doing is amazing. And yeah, like stay safe, Adrian, and thanks so much for doing this.
Yeah, welcome. Just like to add, the printers, right? Which a lot of people don't realize, it's about 200 to 250 watts each. And some of them have about 8 to 10 printers at home, and they're
Mm.
running it 24/7. That's right, running two irons 24/7. And if you run so much, right, I don't think you even get 5% off by TNB. And so everybody is going to be crying at the end of this month when they see the electricity bill. I don't know whether that's something we can actually engage mostly and ask them to waive off the volunteers' electricity bill. Of course, we will minus the refrigerator and the iron.
Yeah. I mean, it's worth trying. Who knows? We've got like stimulus packages coming out. Like you said, we've handled this. I'm surprised at how well Malaysia has handled this. Tap on wood. Looking at the numbers and all, I'm genuinely impressed. And who knows? Maybe there will be solutions that you never thought of, like coming up. I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for the session.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. I wanted to ask you a question. I can see like a PS4 up there. Are you playing? Is this your kid?
Yeah, my son.
Hello.
He started 3D
Hi.
printing. He started 3D printing as well. Um,
Nice.
so we, as in me and my wife, we run a game company, and so the
Huh.
PS4s are actually for research. We have a startup called Interactive VR, which we went to US for the GDC in 2017.
Sweet.
So we actually flesh out AR and VR games. We have a game for startups and uh, entrepreneurs with InScan. We have actually won an award for KLA Associates for a rubber all digital museum for AR and VR as a consultant. We've done stuff on Bluetooth, Tango, and a VR game for, I think, stroke patients for university as well. So yeah, we run a we used to run we used to have iPad apps for kids which were targeted at autistic kids. So a day in the park, a day in the dentist, yeah,
Day at school.
day at school, yeah. He remembers
Okay.
better than I do, yeah. Yeah.
No, I was asking because it's like, maybe it's something that I can follow up on after this whole MCO is over, once we start going back to normalcy, if you still do it.
Do what? As in the games thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the games industry is how should I pay? How should I paint this? So Hasnol from MDEC has been a huge catalyst for the game industry in Malaysia.
Oh, Hasnul's great. Hasnul's such a cool guy.
And so we were privileged in 2016 to be part of the accelerator program by Game Founders, Estonian accelerator program. So me and my wife,
PS4.
yeah. So being in the games industry, which is huge, it's bigger than Hollywood and Bollywood combined.
Yeah.
And so unfortunately, we have chop chops in Malaysia, lah. The guy drawing the rock in the game, or drawing the character for Final Fantasy, or drawing for Street Fighter. He just draws that rock, or that leaf. But having said that, there have been a lot of indie game companies in Malaysia that have launched PS4 games for the indie community and have been sustaining themselves. There is also a game that was Kickstarter Singapore for, I think, 600,000 Sing. Of course, breaking the ice in the game industry is similar to Angry Birds, where they had 52 games and only had one hit wonder. So we were privileged to see the games industry in Estonia, in Finland. We went to Rovio. We were in PS HQ in San Francisco
Really?
during GDC. Yeah, and so the whole office is calling me. Yeah, and so having said that, we were in the games industry lah. We still are. It's just that a little bit more slowed down lah. We're doing B2B lah, not B2C lah.
Okay.
So we're still in touch with the likes of. So some of our mentors, they earn $10,000 a year because they do casino games. Another mentor who is Noah. Noah is from. Noah is the guy that was the head of Google's games. So we're still in touch with them. And then another guy from who's now with Facebook VR, Oculus. He was the creator of what's that game from Microsoft one. So we're in touch lah. Age of Empire, which is still played today.
Yeah.
And then there's also this guy that does Mud Games, the creator of Mud Games. So these are the mentors that we were privileged to be friends with lah. Right? And so he's a huge gamer. Of course,
Love games.
how do you? I mean, the nice topic to do is how do you get a 12-year-old to prepare him for a job that doesn't exist? What
Yes.
more MCO? Yeah.
Yes. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. How do you get content creators? How do you get innovators? Things like that lah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we can follow up on that once stuff settles down, and
Sure.
we're not all talking about COVID and pandemics and stuff. We can go back to some sort of like news about technology and all. Yeah, we'll keep in touch. We'll keep in touch.
John, the guy that connected me with your colleague, is actually the son and him are scout buddies. Scout.
Okay.
And
John.
Min.
Oh, me.
So
John
they,
Yap, right?
and so my kids are homeschooled. They don't go to school.
No
So
school.
the last 40 days has been like awesome for them because
Yeah.
they don't have to go out.
No.
They're so happy that they don't have to go out. They were like praying like, can we stay home? Can we stay home? So they got their wish lah. Very different lah.
Yeah.
Very different.
It is very different. Different approaches.
Different times ahead lah. Very.
Yeah, for sure. We'll follow up. We'll definitely talk about a lot of other things. And
You have my number.
man.
You have my number.
Yep, I've got your number. I'll let you know when this is going to air as well. Most probably next Tuesday. For now, it's scheduled for then. And yeah, if anything else, I'll just nudge you or send you a message and get in touch.
Unfortunately, the video for Whereby is in 3 pieces now because
Sure.
yeah. So you just use whatever you want. I'll upload it to Google Drive lah.
Yeah, Google Drive or WeTransfer is way easier actually.
Sorry, WeTransfer.
WeTransfer. Yeah, just send me the WAV file and the WAV file and the video WeTransfer. Then we count him. That should be it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
See you.
Thank you, Adrian.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.